I was a teacher.
You have a whole degree in it.
More than one, technically.
People paid you money. Like with actual people.
Yeah, real ass children.
My brain just went to like whole ass children. I was like, wait, no. Hopefully there's not any half-ass children.
Oh, there are some definite half-ass children. Hi there, I'm James.
And I'm Emme.
And welcome back to the Bestiary Monster Manual A to Z. And we're moving through the letter G. And we have visited who?
The Gnolls.
The Gnoll, Gnoll. Yeah, nasty pieces of work. A pretty classic tabletop RPG D&D monster. Mm-hmm. Roaming in packs as like lanky bipedal hyena people things. They are voracious and evil and nasty.
Yes, these are absolutely something that if you've been playing a little bit of D&D and you've played your first campaign, chances are you fought a Gnoll at some point. I know I've fought these guys half a dozen times, probably more.
Yeah, I've fought them, run them. First encountered them actually in the original Baldur's Gate game back in the 90s. Yeah. Go for the eyes, boo. Yeah, they are... They're one of those creatures where rules as written, obviously you can play with things however you like. It's really up to the discretion of your DM. They're one of those creatures where we don't need to have a discussion of like the morality of culture or anything like that. These guys are just inherently evil because they are essentially demon spawn.
Yeah, they kind of walk a fine line between things that exist on the material plane and the abyss. They're a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. They spread from the footprints of Yeenoghu.
Yes, Yeenoghu. One of those names, sorry, you can kind of pronounce it a few different ways. There was a time in the dark recesses of history where the demon prince Yeenoghu found a way onto the material plane, and as he roamed the land, consuming and destroying as his kind of deal, he was followed by scavenging hyenas, and as they ate of his destruction and were influenced by his presence, the first Gnolls were created.
Yes, so they are listed as a fiend in the monster manual itself, and they still create other Gnolls kind of in the same way. So there are 3 stat blocks here in the monster manual, and one of them is the Gnoll Fang of Yeenoghu, who is kind of a cleric, almost sort of person.
Probably the closest thing Gnolls have to a spiritual leader. Gnolls are big fans of just savagery and blood sacrifice to their demon lord, and occasionally Yeenoghu will be particularly pleased by this and will visit a dark gift upon one of the Gnolls involved, transforming them into a fang of Yeenoghu, and any creatures slain by this particular Gnoll essentially give birth to new Gnolls.
Which is just gross.
They just rip out from their corpses after a certain amount of time, and yeah.
Yeah, and because of that, they can spread ridiculously quickly through a small area, which comes back to that thing about the abyss that we've talked about mostly in our episodes on demons, which is that the abyss is hungry. The abyss doesn't conquer in the same way that the Nine Hells do. It just wants to consume and destroy, and Gnolls very much live in that fashion. They just want to consume and destroy. There's no Gnoll territories, there's no Gnoll holdings, there's no Gnoll cities. They don't even stick around any place long enough to really call it their own. They will camp out for some place as long as they can continue to consume in that area, and then they will move along.
Yeah, being products of the abyss, though still existing on the material plane, they are invested with that desire to simply destroy. They are products of chaos incarnate, and so, yeah, as you say, they won't settle down anywhere for too long. They will arrive at a place, raze it to the ground, eat everything that they can, and move on. The probably closest you're going to get to any kind of permanent Gnoll settlement or fixture is if they find like a ruined fortress or something that they think could be defensible, or a good staging point for raids on the surrounding countryside. They're not homebodies.
No.
And they are pack animals, essentially, being products of chaos and essentially derived from hyenas. It's a very much kind of might makes right kind of society, and so a Gnoll pack lord, another example of one of the stat blocks that you get in the monster manual, essentially just the strongest Gnoll in that bunch and the one who tells everybody else what to do.
Yeah. And then you've just got Gnolls. Gnolls. And you can, in the art, they're Gnolls.
I mean, you can see why they're such a classic monster.
They're cinematic. There's something just really fun to describe about the posture, the teeth, the armor. You can feel the movement in him. You can feel the bounce and the sway and the walking and what it would look like if a creature who was built in this very abnormal and deeply uncomfortable way. They're descriptive.
The proportions are all off. It's very muscular yet very lanky. The armor's got that patchwork quality to it. Its head sort of juts straight out from his shoulders in a very hyena-like fashion. It's still got that mane. This one has obviously seen some action. You've got the scar across that one blinded eye. It looks hungry and fierce and like it could very much use that spear it's got.
And it does rather look like this is just some patchwork stuff it found too. Patchwork wrappings, patchwork armor. The spear doesn't make. Gnolls don't make.
Well,
so
yeah,
probably just found this guy.
Yeah, again, they're scavengers. They're going to piece things together from what they can find or what they can take off fallen enemies or what they find during raids, etc. Which again is very cinematic because there's very rarely going to be any kind of uniformity among Gnolls that you encounter, and you might be sort of left wondering of like, where did they get this stuff? What have they been up to? For such a classic and arguably fairly simple creature, there's a lot of potential lore and background you could build onto them.
Yeah, they've been in an area where you knew some of these people and they're carrying around some other stuff. Why have they sprung up in this particular area? I mean, sometimes there's no particular thought to it, but sometimes there is. Why is there a demonic infestation in this particular area? Because that is almost certainly what it is. And like we were saying earlier, this stuff moves fast. They absolutely thrive on numbers and speed. A regular base level, straightforward Gnoll is going to be a challenge rating half. So on its own, this challenge rating half. You never fight these things alone.
You're almost never going to find them on their own.
No.
They will pretty much be in numbers of, I would say, half a dozen at least, if not more, and typically going to be led by a pack lord, or if you're really unlucky, a Fang of Yenogu, which is even tougher.
Yeah, challenge rating 4 for those guys, and then a pack lord is 2. And they've got a lot of fun abilities. They've got the rampage ability, which adds up quickly. And again, they work well with each other. So when a Gnoll reduces a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack, they can move and make another attack. It's just really ugly. Pack lords can give that to other Gnolls. They don't have pack tactics like wolves or anything like that, which is good, probably.
Probably. They might be a little much if they did have that.
But also, I don't get the sense from Gnolls that, like a pack of wolves, there's a lot of cooperation even within Gnolls. They listen to the strongest one probably because otherwise they would be beat up by the strongest one.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point actually, and part of the reason I really like the rampage ability because unlike a pack of wolves that will work in a sort of coordinated and patient way to bring down their prey, a Gnoll pack is just ferocity and aggression, and there's going to be very little to no cohesion or coordination. It's just going to be the pack lord telling kill that other thing,
just keep doing the killing thing. And that also gets into, again, these aren't hyenas, these are demons, and it's a very important difference to remember that these are no longer animals. They're just hunger incarnate. They're basically just a mouth.
And a spear.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on The Bestiary Monster Manual A through Z. If a Gnoll chef wanted to prepare you a meal, how best would you say no thank you? Please tell us in the comments down below. We'd really love to hear your tale. And while you're there, you can find all the links for our various media. You can like this video. you can subscribe. You can find some more of our videos here, and join us next week when we talk about the deep gnomes?
Sverfneblin.